All right, let's wrap up.
Good. Okay, awesome to get a win. Every win we celebrate, and we start Pac-12 play 1-0. Feels really good, especially coming off of, the exciting week from last weekend, and I think our guys did a great job just really doing everything they could to focus. There's a lot of interviews and things. We love the attention, so I appreciate all of you. But, it's just something that's in the back of their minds, and I thought they really turned the page early in the week and got focused on Stanford. And, there's reason to, just lock in on them because we know what they've done over the course of time and, play when they come here or when we match up against Stanford. So this is about the 2022 season is what I've kind of told the guys all week long, so that doesn't really mean anything because this is about this team. But we knew Stanford was going to come in and play hard, and they got a good football team.
Maybe you don't necessarily expect to get 8 sacks, but was there something you saw with them that you thought you'd be able to get a lot of pressure on them?
Well, I just think with the run-pass option, the linemen, and there was some in pass pro too, but the linemen are run blocking, and when we, I thought, did a good job of not giving the quarterback McKee his first read, and making it a clean release maybe for the receiver on the RPOs. That allowed him to, when he held the ball for just a split second longer, allowed us to get home and did a great job. Those strip sacks, everything just happens fast. The arm goes up and, you got that split second. I thought our guys, I'm super proud of the technique that they work every day in practice where, we do those pass rush drills and, it coming through, and getting those turnovers and getting 17 points off those turnovers, huge momentum swings for us.
Talapapa had the biggest game of his career and the biggest run of his career. And then after that touchdown, he made a tackle on the ensuing kickoff. What can you say about what he brings in, you've mentioned leadership before, but also on the field is kind of the combination of what he brings?
Yeah, I feel just he's such a solid person. He's so consistent. He's hard-nosed. He comes every day to work. There's nothing flashy about him. He just is a great teammate. And, obviously he was voted captain for a reason. It's because our guys just respect him so much. So proud of him, really having a big day, and would have expected him, nothing less of him than to grind it out, gut it out, and get on a special team the very next play. So fun night watching him, make all those plays and carry the load for us.
Kalen, ZTF looked kind of like his former self from 2020, and he'd been coming off the bench, a very competitive room, but he got a start this week. Did he just have a really good week?
Yeah, I mean, all of those guys are going to just keep rotating in. From a starting standpoint, I know that matters, but because just of how strong of a room it is, I mean, we just know they're all going to get their snaps, and Braylon's wearing the club and things like that, and just trying to get ZTF going. He did that, and it was fun watching him get after it, like you said, like he knows how. And I'm super proud of him. He just every day keeps working, keeps staying the course. He's maturing, as a football player. He's maturing as a person. He's really, really fun to coach. I love being around him. Even away from the football field, it's a pleasure working with him.
Javion Green had a really big day today. He seemed to make a real impact out there for you guys. What's your plan for him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, just in the rotation, you saw we were missing Mish out there tonight, and we just got to keep going and finding the next guy, Javion, it was his turn to step up. Juice thought did a pretty good job, and they're going to make some plays. They got those big guys on the outside that they're so good at throwing back shoulder fades, and they're going to get one-on-one opportunities, whenever you're RPOing. And so I thought for the most part we did a great job shutting them down as a group, and it was cool to see him get out there and make a big hit there towards the end. I think that's something he'll bring. He's a physical player.
Running game was really good tonight. Jackson Kirkland was back. How much of an impact was Jackson tonight?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just getting in that flow with him in there and working a different group, all together. And so I don't know if I could just tell you right now, with 100% just sure that what his impact was, but I think the key is that he got out there and we got into a rhythm with him, and we know Jackson's a great football player, but it's the first time we've had that kind of setup, with him and Troy playing next to each other. So they got some great snaps. That continuity will continue to develop, and we're only going to continue to get better as a unit up front.
Roma Dunze had his first career 100-yard game. Just how do you feel he's progressing?
Who's that?
Roma Dunze, first career 100-yard game.
Yeah, it was really cool to see him make those big plays, that touchdown catch. What a play, And the thing about Rome is just he's so. I keep saying it all the time. He's one of the most coachable guys I've ever been around. And earlier in the game, we had the same exact call. And we ran and had the release, and the route read was a little bit off. And he and Mike talked about it. And then that same opportunity, very similar look, I shouldn't say the same, but very similar look came up. And it was almost just like you knew that they were going to get it corrected, and they did, and they went and made a play. And, that's what I love about our guys and our team in general is, the same mistakes don't happen. And even if it wasn't really a mistake, it was a good adjustment, from the first time, and recognition and seeing the coverage and just going out and making a play and being on the same page. I love it.
Is your offense, I know you have really high expectations for it, but is it exceeding your expectations? And I ask that because you've come out and scored on the first series in every game, and actually none of these four opponents have really stopped you for long. Are you exceeding expectations there?
I think overall, when you look at 4 games, I would definitely say that's the case. I think I would look at different times today and say, we sputtered, but it's all relative, right? We have extremely high expectations for what we do offensively, defensively, and kicked a couple more field goals. Could have finished it out. I know Coach Grubb would be saying the same thing. And so we have high expectations. I'm extremely proud. We're putting up 40 points, and knowing that there's more out there that we could have had.
Wayne mentioned that he feels like he's trusted in this offense to run the ball a lot. I mean, maybe that he didn't have in the past. So how important is that, do you think, for a guy's performance like what he's putting up, just to feel trusted like that?
I think that's a big part of just, a player going out, knowing that there's belief in him, and not just Wayne, but any player. And I think, our coaches just, we have so many banked reps and so many just coaching points, and there's an organization to it, and everyone's on the same page. And so our guys know, what they're supposed to do, what the expectation is. And, through spring, summer, fall, it just keeps adding up, and those banked reps lead to good execution. And we definitely trust Wayne. And I just love the way our coaches, and I think our players just really trust back the other way too, that, we're in this fight together. Coaches and players, we're fighting together, and that's what's fun about this is, when something doesn't go quite right, hey, we're going to get it corrected, there's just a great trust, I think, that continues to grow amongst our team.
You mentioned Mish. Do you have updates on him and Perryman as well?
Yeah, Mish will be out for a couple weeks. I would expect this week for sure. And I know Perriman's really close. There was even a chance again. We thought we'd have him this week, but we're getting really close.
Coach, Wayne was talking about all the things that Michael does well, but he said the thing that really stood out tonight that Michael was doing really well was changing the protections. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that we probably don't notice. But can you talk a little bit about how good he was tonight and just changing protection?
Yeah, he's been really good all season. It's just something that's part of what we do in our offense. We always want to keep him upright. We always want to err on the side of overprotecting and letting him feel comfortable in the pocket. But, there's just sometimes the play call, doesn't have the protection set the right way, and he's so good at recognizing what the coverage is, what those tips are that we saw on film, carrying it over to the game. Doesn't matter, the moment, how big it is. He's able to process it, communicate, and that's just a veteran in him. And our guys are really believing and trusting. When he makes a check, they pretty much understand why he's making that check.
He still hasn't been sacked yet this year.
That's there. I didn't realize that. I knew that going into the game, but you're right. Yeah, that's really a tribute to him. Offensive line, our receivers know too. I mean, there's just times when the pressure's on, and we got a lot of one-on-ones, even tonight. And, they might have to speed up the route a little bit and get their head around, and, they're ready for the ball. But Mike does such a good job of, again, starting with the protection, but hanging in there as long as he can, letting that route develop, and putting it where it needs to be.
Cam Davis unavailable tonight?
No, he's available. He's available for the most part. He could have played. Yeah. I mean, it's just there was a rotation, trying to get Rich in there and trying to, keep working. Will's back now, so, we went with probably the healthiest guys. Everyone's kind of got their little dings, not just at running back, but other positions, but that's football, and go with the healthiest guys, especially when you got a room that's that full of, of talent.
Kalen, the special teams, can you talk about that? Just how important is that to complete?
Yeah, Peyton. I don't know how many field goals did Peyton have today. 4. Those are Those are big points. Just keeping that lead, and you come out and I think we answered a couple scores. With points of our own. Field goals being part of that, and I thought Peyton kicked the best probably that he's kicked all year. Had the most chances too, and that was great to see. I thought Grady, is continuing to kick better, more touchbacks, and that along with our coverage team, especially on kickoff, has really improved dramatically. There's a trust, and there's guys that are in sync with each other. They understand their rules, and even when we put the next guy in as a sub, that guy understands. And so we're just staying the course with what we believe in and what we do, and our guys are learning it and getting more banked reps from games. Those are hard to simulate, without killing each other in practice. And so the games are the best teaching.
And when you're building a winning culture, just how important is it for the players to understand that you need that element of the game for?
Yeah, anytime we can keep the, field positions where it's at. And we've really had the upper hand, I think, on field position throughout the course of the year. And, when we can get that drive on the other side, started on the 25, chances are, we're going to have a good chance. I thought we did a great job of making them earn it, except for maybe at the end here in the last couple minutes, and then when you do that play after play, that's where the turnover happened. Just that you have to have explosive plays. We talk about that all the time with our offense, and how explosive plays are the ones that usually lead to points on drives. Well, we just kept, we maybe gave up a third down here and there, especially early in the game, but we stayed on the field. We made them earn it, and sooner or later we got home with a sack or got the turnover. And that was what I was really, I guess, impressed and happy with tonight.
You've really had to shuffle your secondary in 4 weeks and put a lot of young guys in. Tonight it was Devon Banks right out there at the start. Are you fairly well satisfied with how they played, considering all of the people coming and going?
I'm, super proud of our coaching staff defensively and our players, and how we've had to shuffle, and a lot of times, you keep hearing me talk about, I think he's going to play, we're hopeful or, doubtful, there may be still a chance. That happens through the week of practice too, and guys might be taking a few reps, but you got to get the guys who are going to be on the football field Saturday the most reps. And I'm super proud of the way that the defensive coaches have schemed up around our personnel, and put them not in areas to hide weaknesses or anything like that, but actually use their strengths. We saw that with some of our stuff last week against Michigan State. Thought, the way we played with, especially like Mish, I can think of some things that we did with him. But I thought, our coaches did a great job disguising things, playing to the strengths of our personnel. And, Banks and Julius and Javion, I thought did a nice job. So I'm super proud of those guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kalen.